I think it's fair to say that most all of you here today have what I'm going to talk about. Some of you may argue with me about whether or not all people have one of these, but rest assured we are all equipped with a brain. We all know that our brains are essential for living, but most people don't understand how smart your brain actually is. And when you give your brain a good workout, it gets even smarter, and it gets easier to do things. We don't just need physical activity to stay strong, we need mental activity or workouts too. I recently started working with kids at school, and some of them are special needs. I've been learning a lot about how kids and adults learn in different ways, and I find it very interesting. I'd like to give you all some of the information that I've learned, and I hope you learned something from me today. Did you know the brain is not a muscle, it's actually an organ? It weighs about a pound at birth, and once you reach adulthood, it reaches about 3 pounds. It's made up of gray and white matter, which we'll talk about more in a minute, and it has a very complex cellular structure. It controls many things like intelligence, creativity, emotion, memory, and it controls your other organs and movements. We can give our muscles a break by laying down or sitting down or taking a nap, but your brain does not get to relax. It's also not supported by your muscles. It's actually cushioned with fluid, which allows it to kind of float around in there. It's also the fattiest organ in your body with a whopping 60% fat. It's also the center of the nervous system, and all of the sensory data goes through its cells, which are called neurons. And even though there aren't any muscles in your brain or to hold it in place, the arteries and arterioles that bring blood to your brain contain smooth muscle cells, which regulate your brain's blood flow and blood pressure. Other than that, your brain is made up of neurons. It's flexible, it's ever evolving, and it's always adapting to its environment. So if you think of your brain as a muscle, it's easier to think of needing to get it exercise. We can do a number of things that help exercise different parts of your brain. There was a paper by Johns Hopkins Medicine that shows us that there are 2 different regions of our central nervous system. And this goes back to the white and gray matter. The gray matter is made up of neuron somas, which are round cell bodies, and the white matter is made up of axons, which are long stems that connect the neurons together. Here's a picture of that so you can see. Both gray and white matter play different roles. The gray matter is responsible for processing information, and the white sends all of that information to other parts of your nervous system. Some of these chemical and electrical messages make you feel tired, hungry, or in pain. Others are kept within the brain or sent to other parts of the body. Your brain has to rely on all of your billions of neurons. There are 3 main parts of your brain: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Within those parts, you have different lobes of the brain. Each of these lobes control different things. The frontal lobe, which is the largest lobe, is located in the front of the head, and it can determine things like personality, smell recognition, decision-making, and movement. It's also associated with speech ability. The parietal lobe is the middle part of the brain, and it helps you identify objects that are around you and how close or far away they are to you. This is also the area of the brain that interprets pain and touch and helps you understand spoken language. The occipital lobe is involved with vision. The temporal lobes, which are on the sides of your brain, deal with short-term memory, speech, musical rhythm, and some smell recognition. There was research done at the Rockefeller University in New York City, and they conducted a study on monkeys. They found something really interesting. The region of your brain that is associated with memories, learning, and emotions, that part keeps creating new cells, even into old age. And this is really awesome research, as it suggests that damage that is done to your brain can be reversed, and they may be able to help with degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. So when we learn new things, our neurons actually talk to each other. These messages leap across gaps and they make connections. For example, when we learn something that's hard for us, like in my case it's math, the more you practice it, the better you get at it, and the faster those neurons leap across and they make those connections. We have to learn addition before we can learn multiplication, and learn how to multiply before we can divide. So you have to make those foundations, and then your neurons continue to make more leaps and more connections. So I really hope that you guys made some neuron connections today listening to the information that I found. The brain's fascinating, and I know that I only gave you tidbits. Something to remember is the more you practice something, the faster and faster your neurons are going to make those connections. Knowing all these things can give you confidence when learning something seems hard. And if you're doing something and stop to think, you may be able to remember which part of your brain is controlling that. Persistence is key, and learning the wrong answers or the wrong way to do something is still learning and making those connections.